And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson. 100% agree. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
Well, hello, everybody. It is the Weighing In podcast. Josh Thompson here, and Big John is on vacation, man, for the next 3 days. And, of course, my boy right here, the always good-looking Keto George. He's going to be my co-host today, man. We have some good times going on right now. We had some good fights coming up. We had a draft in MMA, of all things. We had a draft. Shit's getting weird around here, man, but we had some fun, though, man. I got an opportunity to watch the GFL's draft. Great time watching the fights today for the PFL/Bellator. I don't know what you call it anymore. It was for the Bellator title, but when you looked it up on their page, everything was PFL. The PFL promotion, the PFL fights, the PFL. Why didn't you just fight for the PFL title? I don't know either. Anyways, and we had some bare knuckle going on, man. It was a day of all different types of stuff going on in the combat sports industry. And, you know, we are the best combat sports podcast out there. That's why this episode is brought to you by BetUS. YouTube 150 is the promo code. And also OnlyFans. Subscribe to us over there. It is free. We're going to be doing some crazy stuff over there here shortly, though. John and I have been kicking around some ideas. So when John gets back from his vacation, he needs a well-needed rest. He's been kind of grumpy this last couple of weeks, I should say. Actually, years. But, you know, who's counting? And, of course, LMNT, drink LMNT. Use that link down below in our descriptions. They will send you a bonus package with every purchase. Hey, you know what? What did you think? We'll talk about this real quick. What did you think about the GFL draft?
Well, I think it is a very unique thing to the sport. I saw a tweet today. I'll read it. Let me look at some of the GFL age stats. Average age of the GFL roster is 35.7 years. Yeah. The oldest team is Team Miami, with an average of 36.7 years old.
Doesn't that seem like fitting, though? Because everyone moves to Florida right as they get old and retire. It just seems kind of fitting. Go ahead.
There's 40 fighters or 32 fighters over the age of 40. There's 74 fighters over the age of 35, 15 fighters over the age of 29. The oldest fighter is 47, which is 3 different fighters, and the youngest fighter is 21. So, you know what? In this
21.
year,
Who's 21?
I don't know, but
he probably didn't get drafted.
I'm surprised you didn't get drafted.
No, man, you got to put your name in the hat to get drafted. I was like, yeah, fuck that.
Not according to Rashid Evans.
I heard Rashad
Evans.
He's like, I was never part of this. I never signed anything. I was never given a contract. I never get paid for you to use my name.
He said, let me read this. He said, let me be clear. The only commitment I have is to lay Rampage Jackson's ass out in April. I was added to this without my consent. You ain't off the hook that easy, Rampage.
Well, the other thing too is he does some side work also too with the UFC, and I think him associating his name with the PFL or the GFL, I should say, probably wouldn't be good for business if you do any type of work with the UFC on the side. So that's I know that like certain fighters like Gilbert Melendez, he like kind of does stuff for the ESPN as well as with the UFC, but he also works, I think, side by side on the LFA side, like smaller promotions. This promotion hasn't even got started yet, but they're talking big. There's a lot of I heard there's a big cap raise going on right now, so I don't know what the numbers look like, but I do know there was some preliminary numbers thrown out there, like, you know, their first year of revenue is projected, the way they have it projected, I should say, is, you know, at around that 150 million mark. I don't think there's been ever a promotion that's done that ever. So now you can throw 150 million at it if you want, but that doesn't normally work out right. But look, overall, let's talk about how the draft went real quick. There was a lot of positives to take away. It's something new, something different. I thought, and look, I'm not saying what it's new is in terms of we've had teams before, but this definitely has a new feel to it. You know, a real draft. They're really pulling in. But where they messed up is obviously in the very first portions of it. I think by the second pick, during Sage Northcutt's pick, they showed the actual teams already that had been drafted. So as much as they wanted to say it was live and there was a draft, and I mean the teams had already been picked and they kind of knew who they were going to get. I think it would have been a little bit better had they put everyone in one room and you had an opportunity to talk to them live as they got drafted real quick, all in one room. I know they were doing this remotely. I know they were doing the best they could from studio. They probably did a lot of pre-recording, which is what it looked like. And obviously, if you have all the names of all the athletes that have already been drafted, you know exactly who's going to what team. They have a chance to put together a video and send it in so they can get it put up, for the live show that's going on, which the live show really was just basically like Schaub and Robin Black and those and all these other guys. So it was I thought overall the idea was there. I just thought the way they did it, what's the word I'm looking for there, George? How they put things together.
The production of it all?
Yeah, well, the production, I thought there was obviously miscues in some of the production, but they can always work on that. Those are things that can be fixed. This is something new that they've never probably done before, unless they pulled people from the NFL draft, putting this all together, or whatever, the NBA draft or the MLB draft, whatever it is. It was just, I think, the way that they had put it all together, obviously it was probably more difficult for them to get it to pop. So it just, there was positives of it. There was some good things taken out of it. Definitely, I think there's high expectations for this GFL league and what they can do if they can actually get it to a show, which I heard is the end of April, which is going to be tough. I mean, you just got these fighters. Have they been training? Are they getting ready? I mean, the end of April was very quick turnaround. Are they all as committed as people are being told? Are they all, or is more of them like a Rashad Evans? Like, hey, I didn't realize that we were in it this far. Look, anytime you're it's hard enough to get two fighters to agree to a time and a date and then train and get everything going, let alone a group of fighters together in a team. So this is going to be very difficult, I think, on the promotional side. Production side, obviously could tighten some things up, but it really just came down to the fact that this is probably something new that they were working with, and also working with a new team. So whatever the production side of it is and the actual promotion side, they've all got to be on the same page. This was all kind of put together, it seemed like, in the last 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. It's very difficult to do something like that, and when it's something new. So overall, though, hey, good luck to them. I want them to succeed. We need them to succeed. We need them to have, a good promotion, because it gives an avenue. Look, we just saw tonight with the Jeremy Stevens and Eddie Alvarez fight. We saw Ben Rothwell as well. We saw Beck Rawlings. We've seen some former UFC stars, former MMA fighters leave and go off and venture off. I mean, they still have some fight in them. Maybe not at the level that we're used to seeing them fight at, but there's still a lot of great fights available and that they still have inside of them that we can all reap the benefits for without having to pay $85 or $86 to watch them. We can watch them on a lower price range, still pay-per-view, but at least we can still watch them at a lower price point. So I got high expectations for them. I want them to succeed. I'm hoping that they succeed, get their first show out in April, May. That'd be nice. That'd be great. I'm thinking it would probably look more towards the end of May, maybe June, possibly even in July, to try to get all these teams organized, make sure all the fighters are on the same page, making sure that your stars are not hurt. Now, like I said, I'm not even sure how they're going to run the format. Are they going to run the whole team fights another team at same location? I think there's like 5 or 8 fighters on every team. So that's 10 to 16 fights, every night, every time you have a team versus team. So, and if they all stay healthy getting there, do you have backup fighters? Those are all things that I didn't really hear a lot of the breakdown on that. So I'm gonna have to go back through and see if they had talked about that at all. It was a long evening for the draft, though, to be honest, but it was still fun. High expectations. That's really what the name of the game is for this, is that we really need another promotion outside of the PFL. Now the Bellator is gone and the UFC. You have smaller promotions, LFA, Fury, CFFC, which is like a Philadelphia East Coast promotion. You've got obviously the ones in the UK that seem to be very successful. Those are ones that are doing pretty well as a feeder into the UFC. So we'll see. We'll see how that all works out and how that all shakes out. I thought actually Brendan Schaub did a fantastic job on that stand yesterday up on the desk. I thought he helped control how things were going on. I thought he did a fantastic job. And Robin Black obviously does a great job as well. Very knowledgeable in the sport. He's been around for a long time, and great job. So overall, hey, good night for hopefully a good night for fighters that obviously getting a little older, but still have opportunities to put on some great fights. Let's go ahead and jump right into the Bellator card. Do you have any last words on that there, Keto George?
Did you see the terrible AI made video that GFL is having promoted everywhere?
Yes.
Everywhere.
Yes. I did see them. I mean, they tried.
They tried.
I want to. This is what I want to know. How much money did you spend on that?
They probably spent $100 on some cheap app.
No, that had to be at least $100.
There's TikTokers making stuff like that.
That had to be at least $150. Oh man! All right, well, hey, let's go ahead and jump right into the PFL/Bellator and their fight card. But I mean, there's really only a couple. Really, I mean, obviously there were some good fights on the card, but I mean, the number one fight to talk about is obviously the main event. Look, before we get started, let me preface this by saying, man, Paul Hughes he proved me wrong in the AJ McKee fight. And in this fight, I had higher expectations for him because he proved me so wrong in that first fight. But I didn't have this type of expectation. I thought for sure that the wrestling would eventually kick in, which it did at moments. But man, the kid's got balance. The kid's got composure. The kid has got something. He's really, really got something. And I was very excited to see this fight. I was obviously very nervous. Everyone, you guys all know that I'm a big fan of Usman. Past former training partners, whatever you want to call it. I mean, not that I trained a lot with him. I think only once or twice back in the day. I was on the way out as he was actually kind of on the way in. I trained a lot more with his older brother and Umar. When Umar was young, like 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, was when I was in that era of training at AKA, and he was in quite a bit. But look, overall, man, would you consider this a fight as being a fight of the year candidate?
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you can look at Merab and Umar as fight of the year candidate, this one got to be up there
absolutely.
with just as competitive and just as like crazy to the fans, you know? Cardio is killer for those guys.
I think what happens when you look at a fight and you say, hey, it could be a fight of the year candidate, it has things that are unexpected. And in this fight, no matter what people say, no one expected, I think, Paul Hughes. I think, look, I guess not that no one expected it. I should say something else. I should say something like, when there's a Nurmagomedov across the cage, they're expecting the other fighter not to have a chance. And in this situation, like, oh, he was such an underdog, Paul Hughes was. And the fact that the fact that the fight went the distance and all of these like little things, like where he was able to stop some takedowns, it was almost like he should have won because of that. But the bottom line is that, I mean, I had him losing three of the 5 rounds easily, potentially even 4. And I'm not being biased. The judges, when you go by it as well, what I mean by losing the 4 rounds is that the 9-9 round, the reason why Usman won the round was still a 9-9 round. Had he lost the round, it would have been a 10-8 round for Hughes. So, I mean, I looked at it as like, I thought that Usman won rounds 1, 2, and 3. But the round 3 was just basically a nullified round, and you could and I thought he lost round 4, and you could potentially say that Usman won round 5, and it was a close round. I thought Usman dominated 4 minutes or 3 minutes of it, but he got hit with some big shots in that last minute. Towards the end, you could tell the fatigue had set in. He was tired. Like he said, he was caught off guard by the strength of Paul Hughes. And last weekend in the midweek show, I was telling John, I go, something about Paul Hughes, the thickness of the neck, the shoulders, the kind of little bit more barrel chested, the short stubby legs. Like he's got like a longer torso and shorter, thicker legs. And I felt like the calf kicks had a little bit of an effect on Usman. I felt like obviously the boxing and the power was there for Hughes. That puts a little bit more stress on someone like Usman. Paul Hughes fought a great fight, man. Great fight. And if you guys, I normally don't listen to post-fight interviews, but man, I'm such a fan. Like there's not, I don't think I could say one bad thing about this young man. I've never met him. I don't know anything about him. I didn't really know much about him when he came into Bellator, PFL, or whatever it was. And everyone's like, oh man, he should be in the UFC. I want to remind people that it was a bidding war between the UFC and PFL, and the PFL outbid him. That's how they got him. Is that they were very adamant about getting Paul Hughes because they had heard so many good things about him. And I was like, okay, like he looks good. He looks tough. I'd seen some of his past fights. I did some research on him. But then when he fought AJ, I was like, that's a big fight. That's a big fight, man. Like the speed of AJ, AJ's got some pretty good size on him for being a former 45 pounder. He's fast. He can wrestle. I'm like, I think AJ is able to take him down, dominate the top position. There was an absolute no-no in that. And then AJ got tired and the physical strength, kicked in. You could tell the composure of Paul Hughes, man, the kid he's got something special. Really excited to see what happens with him moving forward. I thought he had moments in this fight. In the post-fight interview, he said it himself. He thought he won the fight. Okay. And I can't knock him for that, because when you're in there, you feel like, okay, look, I landed that clean shot. We don't take into consideration, I got landed on by this, hard shot. But in his mind, he kind of knew they were close rounds. He kind of knew. But he also knows that there shouldn't have been that much left in the gas tank at the end. He knows that he could have pushed a little bit harder. Where I thought he made a mistake is in the first 2 rounds, he didn't really do a whole lot.
By element.
Excuse me. Yeah, my element. Where he made a mistake, I felt like in that first round, he kind of gave it away. Second round was a little bit closer, but he still didn't do quite enough. It wasn't enough. The tit for tat thing is not going to get you the win, especially against a current champion. You're going to have to do a little bit more. Round 3, I thought it was an even closer round, but I thought Usman won that round, which made that round a 9-9 round. I thought he lost round 4. I thought Paul Hughes won round 4. And I thought round 5 was a toss-up depending on how you scored that last minute. There was a lot of exchanges in there, clinches in there. But I'm going to go back to something that a long time ago that happened. My buddy Trevor Prengley fought Jeremy Horn. Excuse me. And in that fight, Trevor was winning that fight in all the exchanges, in the wrestling, everything. But what happened was every time they broke away, Trevor would put his hands on his knees. Mm-hmm. Trevor would step back and shake his arms out. He looked exhausted. That loses you points with the judges.
Yeah.
And so no matter what if Big John was here to say, he'd say, oh, no, it doesn't. But no, it does. It does. There's no way that Trevor should have lost that fight. He won all the exchanges. He won the top position. He was winning the fight. But because he always looked tired every time, looked like he was fighting in a retreat motion. And at moments, Usman looked like that. He looked like he was exhausted. He looked like he was wilting. He looked like that Paul Hughes was taking over the fight. But then all of a sudden, Usman would land a hard kick or a hard shot or a 1-2 combination, or he'd get a takedown. So those are things that you look at the scoring and how they score them. Who's controlling the fight, who's landing the harder shots, who's doing more damage. And in that situation, it was Usman. It was a very, very good fight, though. Great exchanges, great takedown defense by Paul Hughes. But I guess let me ask you this. Where do you go from here?
That's a great question. Because, I don't remember his name exactly, but the guy that Usman just beat before this?
Shabli,
is that, does Paul Hughes fight him? Because Shabli was right there with Usman too, made it to decision. Both coming off.
Yeah, that fight was a little bit more dominated by Usman, even though it did go the distance. It was definitely a dominant fight by Usman. I do like the idea of Shabli versus Hughes, but let me throw a little caveat in here. Let me throw a little something in there. I think, to be honest, because this fight got so much hype, I think this is a fight you could run back right away. And where I think, is what you also do is you put AJ McKee which I'm writing down right now because I want to make sure I keep this, because I want to talk to Big John about this too, for all you guys. AJ McKee versus Shabley. And then what you also do is you run this fight back on the same card. I think that's what you do. You do AJ McKee versus Alexander Shabley, and then you run Paul Hughes and Usman Nurmagomedov number 2, but you do it in Dublin, Ireland, or Belfast. I think you do it somewhere up there because what happened is, I have a friend who does, or I found someone who does basically like betting stuff, and he was talking about how this fight not taking place in Dubai, that it would have been a different result. The thing is, those judges are from the States. So I don't know if that makes a difference. It wasn't as if the judges were from there. The one judge that was from there had it a draw. So it was Cologne and Sal D'Amato that had it for Usman Nurmagomedov. And the other judge, I can't remember his name, is Ahi Lazil or something like that. He had it for he had a draw. So look, I looked at it as Usman won the fight. I thought it was 3-2. Could have been easily 4-1. But the one round was a draw, or the one round was a 9-9. So it really just came down to it being basically 3-1 or whatever it was, because one round is nullified. So I looked at it that way. Maybe other people looked at it another way. If you guys have comments down below, man, let me know. Let me know what you guys thought. Let me know why you guys thought that way. I'm not opposed to running this fight right back, though. I think there's really no one else for him to fight. What I didn't like was this. I didn't like hearing Usman Nurmagomedov in the back saying, no, he's got to fight 3 or 4 more other fighters.
Yeah, that was weird.
There's not even 3 or 4 more other fighters in your guys' weight class. I don't know where you're getting this at, but there's not even guys in the weight class. Like, you have AJ, Hughes, Mads Burnell. I'm not even sure if he's still with them. I think he is. You got Mads Burnell,
Shabley,
and Shabley. That's it. Those are your guys, man. Like, I don't know. Can't think of anybody else. The guy that Mads fought in Florida at the Hollywood last July at the Hollywood Casino or whatever it was. Like, I think he was pretty good too. He was tough. That was a good fight. But overall, I think there's a couple guys, but there's not 3 or 4 fights for Paul Hughes to fight. The other thing too is that at the money that they're paying Paul Hughes and Usman, you pretty much got to fight whoever they put in front of you. If they tell you to run it back, you run it back.
Yeah.
I'm of the notion that this fight, it was a very fun fight. I think we got carried away with the fact that, because I don't think when people look and they go, oh, it's a Nurmagomedov last name, that the fight's going to be close. The fight wasn't close. I mean, realistically, like, if you didn't get the point taken away, it would have been even bigger. So it wasn't close in the judges' eyes, the ones that scored it, the judges from the States that scored it that way. So it wasn't as close as people are making it out to be. But honestly, there's no one else really for either one of these guys to fight at the level. Like, AJ's just lost to Paul Hughes. Paul Hughes made it a good fight. Maybe we do see Paul Hughes go fight someone else. Maybe go fight Shabley. AJ's got to get a win too, and then whoever turns around comes back and fights Usman from there. Whoever has the better performance. But the fight with Shabley wasn't close either. So we'll have to see how it all plays out. But I wouldn't be surprised if the PFL, the way that Don Davis was smiling behind Paul Hughes after that, after his post-fight or during his post-fight interview about going to Ireland, taking it to Belfast or wherever it was, he said, I wouldn't be surprised if they take it to Ireland, because they know they can sell there. They finally have another star outside of Conor McGregor. The kid looked like he was out there having fun, man, smiling, laughing, licking the blood. He made me a fan. And like I said, his post-fight interview, gosh, man, if you didn't have any Muslim fans because you had thrown out the Conor McGregor name to come corner you and da-da-da-da-da, well, buddy, you do now. I mean, you have Khabib speaking your name, talking about how, you know what, you're a great fighter, that you're obviously a great sportsman. It carries weight, man. It really does. And the way that you handle yourself so professionally in a loss, and not only that, but the way you fought, shit. I'll tune in every single time to watch you fight. I don't give a shit if you're fighting Usman again. I don't care if you're fighting Joe Blow on the corner and they want to charge me, $54 or $49 or $65 to watch you fight. I'll pay the money, my man. I'm a huge fan now. Got nothing but respect for you. He fought your ass off tonight. And man, he was fun to watch. So I think he's must-watch TV. What's your thoughts on that fight?
Great fight. It kind of, maybe it's a little bit obvious of a parallel, but it kind of reminded me of Ian Gary and Shavkat. Just competitive, going at it. You didn't you expected some fireworks, but you didn't expect all of that energy and guts out of them. That moxie. That moxie.
I was, look, and it's funny. I was reading some people's comments about how Usman's not a top 10 guy in the UFC. I'm like, it's a bunch of bullshit. Look, they were, like I said, the UFC was pitching, basically putting money out there to get Paul Hughes, and PFL was able to steal him away with a higher bid. Now, I don't know. I mean, obviously it was smart for them. It worked out. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes they put a lot of money out and the guy ends up being a flop, or the guy just doesn't live up to the hype and the potential. Paul Hughes is doing it. He's doing it. And look, and everyone's like, oh, these two guys wouldn't be top 10, or maybe Paul would and not Usman. How can you say that? Usman just won. And I'm honestly, if you were to take it, he probably won 4-1, or he definitely won 3-2. So he won the fight. But the bottom line is both these guys, I think, would be in the top 10 for sure. And now let's go back and talk about what we talked about on the midweek show. Almost every single lightweight right now in the UFC in the top 10 is over 32. One of them is not. Guess who it is? Aman Sarukian. He's 27. The rest of them are all older. And from the takedown defense that I saw, I'm sorry, Paul Hughes probably be able to stop some of Sarukian's takedowns. And in the boxing department, who do you think is going to land more? Makes for a fun fight. Makes for a really good fight. And everyone's like, oh, well, Usman's never been challenged. I don't know if you guys know who he trains with. He's getting trained. He's getting challenged every day inside that practice room. And I know it's not a real fight. We're not talking about practice like Allen Iverson says. Okay, but simply put, when you're getting pushed by the best guy, the best lightweight in the world right now, he knows what's at stake. I don't know what happened in terms of the conditioning. Physically, he looked really good. But I've had those moments too where I physically looked good and I got out there and it just seemed like everything filled up. My muscles all filled up with blood. I felt real heavy. I couldn't get anything out. Go back and watch my KJ Noons fight. It almost looked very similar. I looked ripped and shredded, but then as soon as I started fighting, everything just felt heavy and lethargic. It seemed like that's what happened to him after round 1.5. It was like at round 1 to 2 rounds, he started looking really heavy and exhausted. The fact that he gutted it out was very impressive. Very impressive. So, I think also too, I actually talked to Khabib about this probably about 3 weeks ago. And I said, hey, I go, who's really working with Usman? And he's like, oh, brother, we've got this, we got that. We've got these guys that are there, these great coaches. He's got guys. Don't worry. He's got guys. It's very true. He does have guys. But what he doesn't have is Khabib in his corner in practices. You need to push a little bit more. You need to go ahead and you need to do more of this. We need to shape your game plan like this. You don't have the all-seeing eye over your corner. Like that was Javier and Bob Cook to me. They were always over my corner, like over my shoulder, telling me, no, you got to do more of this. No, I need more of a transition from the striking to the takedowns. I need more ground and pound from the top. You're holding too much. You need to create more space to do more damage. You need that person. The little things you need. We all know how to run our own camps. We all know we can do it, but do we want to do it? And will we be better because of it? No, absolutely not. I think in this situation, I had read some comments too after tonight that Usman said with I'll never take another fight without Khabib in my corner, without Khabib at camp. Because let's be honest, everyone talks about how miserable he is, and Islam telling DC, "Come save us, brother! Just come by and visit. Maybe we need a day off." And talk to him. He's crazy. Like, there's a reason why he's crazy. You know, he understands what it takes to get to that level, and he understands what it takes to be as dominant as he was. Well, it was all the extra work. Never, like, you rest, but you rest long enough to make sure you recover for your next training. So I don't know what happened in the camp. I don't know if it was just the fight week or whatever it was, but something happened to where he just wasn't, he got blown up. Like, something happened. Your body fills up with blood, like the muscles, everything feels heavy. So we're going to find out, though. But I think overall, I thought Paul Hughes, nothing happened to him. His stock rose. And in the post-fight interview, he's basically, you could tell, he's like, I was gutted. I'm gutted, and I'm just upset that, I could have done more. When you're telling yourself that, next time to leave it all out there. Because he was so relaxed. He was so beautiful to see a young kid like that, smiling, laughing, taking in the crowd. Hostile territory, by the way. He wasn't like he was in Ireland, with all his homies. Just fucking like, yo, come, it's my town, my house. Like, no, he was in hostile territory going, I got this fight.
No comp tickets for him.
Yeah, no comp, none. None, dude. You're not getting any comp tickets. Hell no.
They put his family in the nosebleeds.
In the nosebleeds, yep. True story, man. I would just won the title for Strikeforce, and I went to a UFC at the Pearl. You know where the Pearl is? In the old Palms. Mm-hmm. And the Pearl was a cool little venue. It was like straight up seating, though. There was no bad seat in the house. But I remember I asked Sean Shelby, because Sean and I were friends, and Sean, I'm like, hey man, can I get tickets to this fight? Because I was there to watch Koscheck or Fitch or somebody fight. And Sean's like, yeah, let me see what I can do. I'll try to pull you some. And he pulled me some, and I get them, and I'm like, all right, I don't know where these tickets are. I didn't know the numbers were. And he's like, hey man, and so he sends me a text after he gave me the tickets, and I'm getting ready to walk into the arena. He's like, those tickets are specifically from Dana White. Fucking the very last row at the top. He's like, there's nothing I could do, man. Once I put your name down, he's like, Dana walked up to me and goes, hey, these are for Josh Thompson. Make sure he gets if he's coming, make sure he gets him. I was like, this son of a bitch. But hey, it was funny though. Whatever. I knew I was there. I was just there to watch my boy fight, and I was ready to leave. So that was it. But it was just funny because it was I was with Strikeforce. Obviously, he's like, nah, you're not getting any good seats in my house. One of the biggest mistakes that I think that PFL does is, and I thought Bellator did it as well back in the day, is, we did a lot of stuff promoting, Habib. We did a lot of stuff promoting Islam. We did a lot of stuff promoting fighters that were in-house, that were from the UFC. I'm not, it could be a good thing, but let's not make such a spectacle of it. Like, they literally had Habib's walk-in. Habib arriving to the arena. Yeah. Islam walking to the arena. Why? Like, they're going to be there. Honorable mention, maybe sitting cage side, watching them corner. You're going to see them quite a bit. All that does is it takes the spotlight away from your fighter. It's almost like oh yeah, my little brother's. It's like the Anthony Pettis and Sergio Pettis situation. Sergio's like, look, man, I'm my own man. Like, start talking about me, start talking about my life, start talking about like my run to the title, start talking about that. I'm my own man. I want to develop my own. Like, sure, my coach Habib is a great coach. Sure, he was a great fighter. Islam is a great fighter, but I'm still the one that has to go out there and fight. I feel like PFL is making that mistake. I'm not saying you can't show them in the crowd. I'm not saying you can't show them in the back while they're, while Usman's warming up. But there's got to be like a line a little bit there where you feel like you're promoting another organization, and you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, it's very strange. I mean, I grew up on some totally different, but WWE. And if somebody from WCW came over, they would never promote them in the crowd and say, hey, go watch this other company that's trying to take food out of our mouth,
Yeah, I agree.
It is very strange.
I'm good friends with Bobby Lashley. We do the Dad Dojo podcast, and he just left the WWE and went over to AEW, just became the tag team champ over there.
Oh, yeah, him and Shelby.
Man, Bobby's a great dude. But yeah, you're not going to see Bobby going back to the WWE and be like, yeah, let me walk around with my title. Let me show him in the Let me show them in the stands. That shit ain't happening, man. Like, that's not what we're doing.
Not until they put him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, we'll see, but yeah, that's not happening. And so I think there's a lesson to be learned. I think by promotions that are the smaller promotions than the UFC. You guys have just like, sure, it's cool to show the fighter like, hey, they're in the arena watching the great fights. Their teammate is fighting, and just pump their teammate up, because in hindsight, 50-50, they're connected, right? Like, that teammate is connected to him because they train together, which means if that teammate's there to support him, that kid must be good. So now I can back that kid and be like, hey, that kid's really good. Like, it was always a thing to us to kind of go from AKA. We would always try. You guys can see it now, the way I am with, with all the Dagestanis, but also too, when it was Kane, when it was Fitch. I mean, I cornered John Fitch, I'd say probably at least 8 or 9 times, maybe even more than that. Cornered Mike Swick a couple times. Cornered Josh Koscheck for his very first 2 fights ever. Cornered him several times after that. Cornered Trevor Prangley and Phil Baroni probably I'd say at least 10, 11 times. Sometimes in overseas, like in other countries. It just, yeah, spending your time taking care of your boys, cornering them, showing your support for them. That's a lot of what AKA does. And but to be the promotion, like showing your fighters are being supported by guys from the UFC or guys that are world champions or whatever it is, that's just as marketable as instead of having them shown all the time, as they're walking, if they're leaving the hotel, their back room, like them eating, whatever it is. It could be anything. They're showing them every chance they get to bring them up. And it's and Bellator did it a little bit as well. Remember when Conor jumped in the cage? There was like that stuff going. I'm like, I mean, they ran that shit on repeat for a long time. And finally, someone had to tell them to shut it down. I was like, okay, look, we ran this thing long enough. But yeah, I get it. Anyways, next fight, you have Vadim Nemkov versus Tim Johnson. This fight kind of went exactly how Big John and I said. Tim Johnson just wasn't going to be fast enough. Nemkov, man, fast head kicks, was able to land one right off the bat that kind of cut Tim at the top of the head. Vadim's just really good. He's got good power in his hands. He's got really fast kicks, good lateral movement for a heavyweight. He is a tweener though. Walks around about 245. Maybe 250 now, maybe at the most, but he's not a super big guy. He's got good cardio, knows how to relax.
One of the best heavyweights of all time, Cain Velasquez, walked around lighter,
Yeah, Cain walked around. Well, he walked around bigger, but he fought lighter. But this is Nemkov. Nemkov told me when last time I saw him in Saudi Arabia, he's like, yeah, I walk around about 242, 244, somewhere in there. He's like, depending on, how I am that camp, depending on, where, if it's winter or if it's summer, he's like that kind of thing. So if I got my winter coat on, but yeah, look, the speed, the power, the ability to get takedowns, control the top position, land some shots. It was just a little bit too much. So, Tim made a mistake, give up his back, and Vadim was able to get the back and get the choke, and it was done. So Vadim's good, man. He's very good. Ahmed Magomedov versus Nathan Kelly. Same, very, very similar situation. Just a lot of control, able to dominate the position, got rocked right off the bat. But outside of that, man, just dominant positioning, the wrestling. That, I mean, what do you like? Everyone continues to say like, oh, well, all these guys, they're all dominant with their wrestling. Yeah, a lot of them are. But like, I go back to the Usman and Umar. Those guys didn't come from a wrestling background. Sure, they knew how to wrestle, but they were more of a Taekwondo style / like karate style type kickboxing. So, you know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at. I think not everyone is Habib.
It shows their dedication, time in the gym to transition into such heavy wrestling nonstop.
Oh yeah.
Like anyone that doesn't know, like I barely know. That shit is hard. That shit is so hard. So to go from a life of, I learned how to strike, I learned mobility and flexibility and strength and that, and then to go into a completely different direction and still have to perform and dominate. It's insane.
The next fight with Ibragimov versus Kenny Mohana. I can't even say his name.
Perfect.
Yeah, but man, I will tell you this. Ibrahim is someone who can wrestle. He can wrestle really well. Very good, slick spinning attacks. Very slick in terms of like the way he sets things up, how fast he can do his spinning attacks. He's very good on the feet, but he understood that the easy way to win this fight was to wrestle. And then I heard the stories about how his two brothers are basically being scouted or already on the teams. They're like on the B teams for like Manchester United and soccer. So the genetics runs in this guy's family. He's like a fucking small white John Jones is what he is. The kid can wrestle. He was explosive, very composed out there, undefeated. I think he's 9 or 10-0 now because of that win. But man, great fight, man. Great fight. It's hard to deal with someone like Kenny, who is very long, very tall, very fast, explosive, good on the feet. Hard to take down because you have to lift and scoop and get them higher than you. And Ibrahim is he's not a tall guy, but man, he was very, very talented, extremely talented with his striking. Great stuff with the wrestling, good control from the top position. I'm looking to see big things out of him. Going to be a good fighter. That's pretty much going to kind of wrap up a little bit of our stuff. I did want to talk about that one fight, Khan versus Nada, where he broke his arm. Ooh, I almost threw up in my mouth watching that shit. That was so nasty, man. That was so nasty. That push kick. And now I want to go back to my Tony Ferguson fight. Is Tony started push kicking up the middle in the beginning, like the very first part of the fight. I started blocking it with my hand, just kind of paring it down. It's just common to get into that. And I kid you not, for 2 weeks after that fight, man, and I also too, about a minute, I'd say after the first round, into the second round, I couldn't check the kicks anymore. I couldn't like block them anymore with that hand. I had to switch to the other side to start trying to block it from the other because my forearm was so swollen. It was like, I wouldn't even say it was a softball. It was more like half of a watermelon.
Ooh.
It was just so big. It was like kind of just rounded from my elbow to my wrist. And I thought I broke my arm. And it just, yeah, I mean, it was so every time I touched it for probably about 5-6 days, I couldn't put any, you know how you like sit down at the table, you kind of rest your forearms on the side of the table if you don't put your elbows on the table. So, man, I put my elbows on the table the whole time. I normally don't put my elbows on the table, but I was like, oh, my grandmother's going to kill me if she sees me with my elbows on the table. But, man, I couldn't rest my forearms on the side of the table to eat. It was so painful. It was horrible. It was nasty. But, man, that arm break was disgusting. It reminded me a little bit of Anderson Silva's leg, Chris Weidman's leg. It just reminded me of those two situations there. So, and Corey Hill, way back, the very first guy to ever do the wraparound leg kick, the rubber band leg kick. But yeah, those are the I thought overall the fights were good. You know, there were some good fights. It's a very Middle East type or Russian type heavy card. Gotta cater to the fans in that area. But I thought there were some talented young fighters on the cards. And but I thought the main event definitely lived up to the hype, definitely carried the weight of the card, and it did a great job representing. I feel like we get so used to, if your last name is Nurmagomedov, that you're just a guaranteed win, and that your name is stamped with this wrestling, and you got to have control. And the fact that people saw Paul Hughes still there in the fight at the end of the fight, that we should have automatically just given him the fight, and that's not the case. You know, like I said, Paul Hughes' stock did not go down. If anything, I thought it rose. I thought it rose a lot, not only just by the way he fought, but also too by the words that he spoke at the end. We have less of that in this sport now. When people speak with class, they speak with clarity, they speak with positivity. Even though he was upset that he lost, which he deserves to be upset that he lost, in terms of he knows that deep down inside he could have done a little bit more in the first and second round. He said it blatantly. I could have done more. I could have pushed harder. Could have done this. If that's the case, he's so young. He understands where he made the mistake. And the fact that he can admit that to himself on a huge stage like that, man, this kid is the future. I'm so pumped. And like I said, next time, anytime he fights, take my money. Take my money. So overall, great fight. and I'm looking forward to seeing these two guys get back in it. My thought is you have AJ McKee versus Shabli to see who fights the winner of Paul Hughes and Usman Nurmagomedov 2. That's what I think. I think you run it back. You have them both probably on the same card. Then they can face off afterwards on the two winners. And we see how that fight goes, man. Looking forward to it. I want to see that fight again. I'm definitely down. What else you got for us? Oh, we got the bare knuckle boxing.
BKFC KnuckleMaina 5.
BKFC KnuckleMaina 5. Before we move on to this fight, though, I want to remind you guys all, this episode is brought to you by BetUS. YouTube 150 is the promo code. BetUS, YouTube 150 is the promo code. And also it's brought to you by LMNT. Best hydration drink in the business, 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams, not 600, of magnesium. That potassium and that magnesium has been helping me sleep. I'm telling you guys, I drink a half a can while I film for you guys right now at 1 a.m. I drink a half a can, so when I get out of here, I'm not all amped up and I can actually go to sleep. My son's got lacrosse at like 8 a.m, about an hour away. So I got to get up early after I get done here, probably at about, I'll be done here filming around 2 o'clock in the morning. So a couple hours of sleep, get back to being a dad. So it's been fun. Also, too, as we're speaking about being dads, the Dad Dojo podcast, make sure you guys subscribe to us over there, man. It's a great show that we've been putting together. I got Rich Chow on there. I got Bobby Lashley on there, the three of us. We do it in studio. We have a good time. It's always fun, man. And if you guys haven't checked it out, man, check it out. It's called the Dad Dojo podcast. And it's available on YouTube, all the listening platforms, iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify. Check us out on Rumble, too. We're on Rumble as well. And OnlyFans, subscribe to us over there. It is free. Let's go ahead and chat about the BKFC. What is it called? BKFC what?
KnuckleMaina 5.
Man, I like it. Let's go right into the main event, man. Alvarez versus Stevens. Did you watch the fight?
Oh, yeah.
What'd you think?
Underground King. It's that watching BKFC, especially when fighters are that high level, my heart is going at 99 million miles an hour. It is like, because at a drop of a hat, the fight is over. It's like, it's insane. I always forget every time Eddie fights that there's going to be a woman screaming at the top of her lungs.
That's called his wife.
I know. And I love it. Like, cause I'm like, huh. And then it like gives me happiness. And I'm like, yeah, Eddie, here's it. Let's go, Eddie. Yeah. But, Jeremy just dropped him bad.
Twice.
Twice. And then, you can't fault Eddie. This is the second time he stopped in the corner.
Yeah.
But that's different than normal boxing. In normal boxing, you get stopped in the corner. It's okay. But when you're getting hit bare knuckle and your eye, your orbital bone and your jaw and all that, you could stop in the corner, Eddie. You deserve it. You're fine, bro.
Yeah. What I saw tonight it's the first time I've ever saw a look in Eddie's eyes where he's like, it seemed to me, where at the end when I think it was Dan Murray, was like, okay, can you keep going? And it just was this look in his eyes like, I can, but I don't really want to anymore. Mm-hmm. And it's easy to get to that phase. It's easy to get there and be like, yeah, I really don't want to do this anymore. And I've been there. I know a lot of fighters, that have left the sport that have just been like, man, I was having so much fun. I was doing this, doing that. And then next thing you know, there was a day I showed up to the arena and I was like, yeah, I really don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm not excited. And not only that, I'm almost getting like anxious and like jitters, nervous. I'm getting anxiety. I mean, I went through something similar to that. Like, I was literally on the loading dock about to fight Patricky Pitbull. And I was just like, I don't like there's like a sense of anxiety I never had before ever in my life. I was like, man, what am I doing? And I started questioning myself, like, why am I doing this? What's the point? And that's when I kind of figured. I was like, look, let me get through this fight, see what happens. If I'd have won, I'd probably been like all amped up. Yeah, let's do it again. But I also was kind of on the phase of like, maybe we just call it a wrap after this. Get a big win over a big name and just kind of call it good. Leaving out, like, that was kind of always a dream of mine, was to kind of like walk out, not necessarily as a champion, but after a big win. I actually seriously considered retiring after the Nate Diaz fight. But then they said, you're getting a title shot. And I was like, okay, I'm getting a title shot. I was like full blown into camps, getting all ready and everything like that. And And then they pulled that rug out from underneath me. And then I was like, all right. So then, I was already in shape. I was already ready to fight. And they said, well, we'll have you fight this other guy, Rabadanov, I think is another wrestler, a Dagestani wrestler, 5-time Sambo champion, who just so happened to compete against Islam like all the time. And he's like, and I talked to Islam, but he's like, brother, this guy very good. This guy very good. And I was like, he's like, yes, yeah, very good. And I was like, oh yeah, great. So they were trying to give me him. He was ranked number 15 at the time. I'm like, how did I go from a title shot to fighting number 15? I was like, yeah, I'm good. I almost retired, and then I said, if you give me a top 5 guy, I'll take it. And then they gave me Benson. But in this fight, what I saw from Eddie Alvarez was, and when that second time right before the bell rang, was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Just that glimmer in his eyes, just the like look of like, shit, how did I end up here? Like, how did I get dropped twice by this guy? And Jeremy's a savage, man. Jeremy will come at you. He'll take a shot. I've trained with him a couple times, down in San Diego over at Alliance when it was Alliance, and Phil Davis were there and those guys. But man, he just, when I grabbed a hold of Jeremy, I was like, dude, you're like, just like everything hurts. Like he's just got like hard muscles in his back and his shoulders and everything like that. And then Eddie, just a great fighter, man. Just good on the feet, good boxing, but the movement slowed down. He used to be so, he used to bounce on his toes really well. He'd make you miss and cut the corner and then box you from the angle. I know it's hard to do that in this sport because guys can clinch you and grab you. But Jeremy wasn't clinching and grabbing a whole lot. It was more Eddie initiating the clinch. So when I'm here watching this, I'm like, damn. I could see that Eddie was out there, doing what he was doing, but I didn't see the same Eddie, the movement, the combinations, the cut in the corner. He used to pivot really well outside. He would, throw the right hand and then take a step to the left and then, and then pivot to the outside and then double jab it out, or he'd throw the right hand, left hook. He would put combinations together off of that boxing. And I didn't see that in this. And Jeremy looked composed. Jeremy looked a little lost in that first round. Not so much lost, but more like almost like he was really trying to see what Eddie had. Let me fill him out a little bit. Let me take some shots, like, without getting knocked out. Let me see what he's got. And I think once he realized he could catch him, like when he could touch him, not catch him, but touch him, he's okay. Let me touch him. And then after I touched him a couple of times, okay, let me see. Let me land a hard shot. Boom, land a hard shot, dropped him. And I was like, ooh. And you could tell after Eddie got dropped the first time, he got up and he turned to go walk to the ropes and he stumbled forward. And I was like, ooh, yeah, that's not good. And this is a rough sport, man. This is a really rough sport. Eddie's talked about it too. Other fighters have talked about it. Shit, Luke Rockhold quit right there on the, he's like, I'm not doing this shit. I
would have too. If you look at his teeth.
Yeah.
I would have quit the round before that. I would have quit on the walkout.
Yeah. Ugh. You know what's funny, man, is I got a hard on to do this sport just one time. I don't know what it is. Something about it really fucking turns me on, man. I might
catch you on a bad day. Get caught with something.
Man, I mean, I don't know. Something about bare knuckle really makes me want to do it. Something about it. I don't know. I'm saying just once. I saw Tony Ferguson side with the GFL. If Tony want to come over to bare knuckle, I'll tape up the hands.
Wow, you would fight Tony in bare knuckle?
Absolutely.
Whoa.
Nate Diaz too. I'd fight him in bare knuckle too.
Whoa.
Yeah. Guys that you've like, you kind of you've already fought, you kind of mix it up with. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun.
I would love that.
Something like that would be fun. Don't tease me with a
I'll
good
fight
time.
on the undercard.
Yeah.
I'll fight in the prelims.
But what was your overall interpretation of the fight?
Man, I just feel like when the stakes are that high, if your game plan is not working, you don't have a lot of time to get a counter game plan in action. Like the rounds are quick. Everything's moving at breakneck speeds. It's like Eddie was feeling it like they're scrapping in the first. Jeremy was seeing what he was doing. But it's like once Eddie couldn't do what he was trying to do, like there wasn't another direction to go. It was just fists are flying. So now you're getting hit.
To be honest, there really is, I don't think, a whole lot of game planning because the rounds are only 2 minutes. it really is like a 2-minute street fight, and then you get like a break, and then you get a 2-minute street fight. And even if you have a game plan, not that it goes out the door or out the window, but it just simply like it all happens so fast. Like in MMA, right? You can slow things down by the way you clinch, by the way you wrestle, by the way by the way you keep your distance on the feet. There's not a lot of that in this sport, and that's what kind of turns me on to it, man. I really enjoy, you go hard for 2 minutes, you run those 2-minute sprints, and then you get back out, you do it. It's pretty impressive. So, man, I thought it'd be a little bit longer of a fight, but Eddie getting a little bit older in age, Eddie's he's fought everyone, man. He's fought everyone. And to finish off right here in the bare knuckle, just brutal.
Yeah.
So, but overall though, man, good. Congratulations for Jeremy Stephens. That's a huge win for him. He's 2-0 in bare knuckle. And I don't know I didn't listen to the post. Who did he call out?
I didn't get to listen to it either. I'm just assuming Mike Perry. They all call out Mike Perry.
I was thinking he'd call out his boss. Come on, Conor. Let's go, baby. Let's go. But okay. But hey, let's go ahead and go Terrell versus Rothwell. I mean,
blink and you'll miss it, buddy.
Yeah, man. That was I literally like just sat down. I saw the intros and I sat down. I sat back in my chair and I looked back and I'm like, oh shit, it's fucking over. Good thing for the replay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Big Ben's just hard to deal with, man. Ben Rothwell he just kind of stumbles forward a little bit, but he's good at keeping the range with his long arms. He leans a little bit to one side, kind of just takes away kind of what you got to do. You only can hit him with the left hand because he's so tall, and he dips away from you and he jabs you. And then as you maybe try to offset that, he basically hits you with a huge right, crushes you, destroys your dreams in one punch.
Just a short, strong ass punch. Mm-hmm. He came out in the wizard robe. he was evil Ben again. Did you ever have Ben Rothwell winning a championship in 2025, the year of our Lord, on your bingo card?
No,
did you have that?
But you said the year of our Lord. Are you talking about Donald Trump? What are you talking about?
Is he our Lord?
No.
Are you going to do the Elon hand motion?
No, I'm not in the Elon hand motion. Sorry, brother. Wrong dude. Let's talk about Beck Rawlings and Starling. Look, Beck looked good.
Ooh,
she looked fantastic, man. And Starling can take some shots.
Yeah, she
took some big shots.
Beck, she was getting fancy on the feet. In one of the rounds, she was she stand up.
Yeah, she was someone that didn't really ever pan out for her in MMA, but she was the champion in bare knuckle when it first started. And then she left and went to Bellator because she was like, okay, I'm the champion here. And let me go. I've rejuvenated myself. I'm having fun. Let me go fight, back over in MMA, and was getting paid decent money. And now she's back. I mean, like I said, sometimes being I shouldn't say one-dimensional fighter, but only have to work on one part of the craft, which is boxing, and a little bit of clinch work. Some people, some athletes, they focus and hone in on that one thing, and this is her. I mean, Mike Perry being the guy that he is perfect sport for him. I look at Jeremy Stephens, Mike Perry, they seem very similar to me. The way that they, the way they carry themselves, the way they fight, the way their bodies are built, like
they got that dog in them.
Yeah, they got that dog in them. Oh, sorry, it's 2 a.m, guys. Sorry, excuse yawns. But yeah, I think honestly, man, Jeremy Stephens, Beck Rawlings, Mike Perry, Ben Rothwell, they found rejuvenation, outside of MMA. And I think it's fantastic. When I was talking about the GFL earlier and the fans wanting another promotion to succeed, we need another promotion to succeed. We need more fights because there's going to be trickle fights like this where you're like, man, are we going to get the best fights? You're going to get fights like you saw tonight with Paul Hughes and Usman. You're going to get some fantastic fights, man. Maybe they're not going to all be fantastic, but it's worth having the ability to build up these younger stars in other promotions, and then they can go ahead and feed into the UFC if they want to go, or if the promotion has enough money to keep them and pay them more, that's even better. You start raising the bar that way. I said this about 2 weeks ago. I said, it was Pride, Strikeforce, Elite XC kind of had a short stint there, but it was Pride, Strikeforce, and Bellator. Those were the three companies, I think, over the years that really had an opportunity to take the market share, potentially take the market share, or split the market share with the UFC. It's done. Like, there's not going to be another promotion that's going to be able to come in and do it. There's just too much, the way that the money to start a promotion now, the money on the networks, the money that networks are paying. It's just too much now. It's just not sustainable for it to happen. It just can't be done. I mean, it can be done, but it depends on, you got to think about, man, one, he's throwing $600 million or whatever. They're $500-600 million in the hole, and they're already making cutbacks. I don't think one lasts longer than another year, maybe two. And they're downsizing everything they're doing, moving their headquarters out of Singapore, moving into Thailand. PFL obviously getting rid of Bellator, which I thought was a smart thing to begin with. They should have done that last year, but I think TV contracts kept them from doing that, from what I understand. And doing what they're doing now, getting rid of that whole tournament, I think they need to get rid of it being 500,000, save themselves some more money to sign some more higher level talent. Get the younger talent to build your company off of. Sign more Paul Hughes. Sign more kids like that are out there. There's plenty of them out there. You just got to find them. That's it. You got to find them, whether they're in Brazil, whether they're in Ireland, whether they're in the UK. You got to find them. The ones that you guys, some of these guys used to run around. Like Sean Shelby used to go to like gyms and scout fighters. I know that some of the guys from Bellator, some of the guys from Strikeforce, they used to go around and scout fighters to try and get fighters. They would talk to teammates, those kind of things. Look, guys like Cain Velasquez got found out that way. Fighters came in from the UFC to train with other fighters on our team. And all of a sudden they're sitting there sitting there ringside watching Cain Velasquez, who's not in the UFC, who only had one fight in Strikeforce, and just watching him dominate guys that were in the UFC, Paul Bonatello, Mike Kyle, Christian Wellish, and he would go through all of them in one 5-round session. Okay, I'll take Paul for 2 rounds. I'll take Mike Kyle for 2 rounds. I'll take Christian for 1 round, and he would just dominate him. And that's how guys that's how guys used to get found. Now everyone just sends their tapes in, or manager has to have a manager to talk to, Sean Shelby, Hunter Campbell, Mick Maynard, whatever. But my whole thought process is that those days of having a competitor, I should say, against the UFC, I think they're gone. I don't see another one that will potentially rival the UFC, and not that anyone was ever going to catch them. Especially now with all the talk of, almost $1 billion, whatever the next TV network is going to, I think it's going to be multiples. I think you're going to end up with Netflix for all the UFC fight nights. I think you're going to keep ESPN for the pay-per-views because those seem to work seamlessly. And it's easy for everyone to access in terms of buying the pay-per-view. And I think the Netflix for all the other stuff is perfect. You're just a member. And then Netflix cuts them a fat check and more people come on and watch, the fight nights. And the Dana White Contender Series, all that stuff, I'm not sure what they'll do with that. That may go to Netflix as well.
Either that or stay on the Fight Pass.
It might stay on the Fight Pass. It might.
Might give them a reason to rent or buy the Fight Pass if you want to watch the Dana White Contender Series and see names coming in.
Yeah, possibly. Possibly. I mean, but then look, you don't want to spread it out. Like there's like now, like I was trying to watch the Buffalo Bills versus the Ravens. I think it was. I couldn't find the damn thing. It was fucking on Amazon.
Yeah.
I was like, geez, man, really? And I couldn't find it. I was like, why is it on here? Why isn't it not on like a normal, like for everyone to watch? It blew my mind. Like now it's getting to the point where everyone's on, they're trying to share it on every different app. Well, like try to make it as easy as possible. I think the UFC is in a position to do that. I think they're in a position to say, look, all of our pay-per-views will stay here on ESPN. And then that's the biggest fights. So your announcers are only going to talk about the biggest fights that happen on ESPN. They only want to talk about the John Joneses, the Tom Aspinalls, the Islam Makhachevs, the Max Holloways, Ilia Topuria. They only want to talk about the biggest name fights. You're not going to see them talking about the main event on the fight night card. They're not going to bring it up. Tony Kornheiser and those guys, they're not bringing them up on their PTI and or First Take. They're not talking about them. Maybe Shay might on his show, he might do it, but they ain't doing it on anything else. So it's got to be the pay-per-view fights. Those are the ones that'll get ESPN commentators and analysts to talk about. And you take all the other fights onto Netflix. Netflix is about to up their prices to, I think, $19 or something is what I heard. And so they're going to have to make up the money that they're going to spend on the UFC. WWE went there. UFC is going to follow. They're going to get quite a bit of the market share. I think they're going to get all the smaller shows. I don't know about the Dana White and looking for a fight and all that other shit. I don't know if they're going to get that, but the Ultimate Fighter, I don't know if they're going to get that, but they're going to get some stuff. They're going to get quite a bit for a lot of money. Probably I'd say around 600 million, somewhere around there. And the UFC will pay the rest.
750.
Yeah, it depends on how much ESPN is going to pay them for their pay-per-views.
Yeah, that's true.
Because remember, they're gonna have to restructure that deal. I mean, not that I don't know if they're gonna restructure it differently, but remember, like, hey, we'll give you guys this much money, and you got to guarantee us this many pay-per-views or this many fights. So they want all the biggest fights. I don't know if they're gonna pay them now. I believe it was like 500,000 pay-per-views, and anything over that they split 50-50. I don't know if that's what the deal will still be. That's what I heard a long time ago. But overall, a lot of money can be dumping into the UFC. That being said, there'll be less money out there. And also, too, when a lot of money like that goes from ESPN, Netflix, goes into one company, like the NFL, all the other networks talk to each other and go, we're wasting our money, dumping our money into XFL, right? Or into whatever this other football league is. The NFL has the market. The UFC right now, like they have the market. And if you get a huge deal from Netflix and ESPN, all the other networks are like, look, we've already seen this. I've seen this, done that. I already know what's going to happen. If I dump another 200 million into some fight promotion, they're not going to get any play. No one's going to care about them. So now what? What do I do? So, they're not going to, it's good. You'll have a couple that will do it. Football is such a huge sport. But the UFC and MMA is not far behind them. The UFC and MMA is a worldwide sport. The only other sport I really believe, and I know is, the biggest sport is soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. But that's the biggest sport in the world, because all you need is a ball. That's it. Poor kids can play it. Rich kids can play it. That's all you need is a ball. You don't need shoes. You can play without shoes. A lot of people do play without shoes, But yeah, fighting. You just you need your hands. You need some underwear. That's pretty much about it.
If you're
Fucking ding dong's not flopping around someone's face. That's all you need. So it's funny how the poor man's sports though are taking over. I think they've been taken over, but I'm glad. I'm happy. It's a bright future, I think, for the sport of MMA. But I still feel like we need more promotions for these fighters to really get to level up, to hit from the LFA to the next level, and then go ahead and jump all the way up to the UFC if that's the case. But I'd like to see a rival company come along though and have some fun with it. What else you got for me there, George?
So we got a little bit of fun stuff. Did you see that Robert Whitaker called your good friend Daniel Cormier a scumbag?
Oh man, look, DC's been called a lot worse. I'm sure he'll be able to handle it. Man, my boy, look, was it a cool move to do what he did? If you guys don't know, let me give the backstory on this. DC took a picture of somebody else's picture that they had taken of Robert Whitaker's teeth after it had been pushed back into his mouth after the Khamzat Chimaev fight. Then he took that picture. He took a picture from someone else's phone. He took a picture of that picture on that person's phone and then posted it on his social media showing everyone his teeth. I mean, to be honest, I mean, you look at DC now, I mean, like he's more, and a lot of people like to call us media, even though John say we're not media. DC can be considered media. I mean, he's on ESPN with the bad guy, you know. He does, you know, a bunch of other little things that he does in terms of podcast stuff or TV network stuff or whatever it is. He's more media than Big John and I, and so that's kind of what you would expect from him. I mean, depends on how you look at it. Eventually, someone was going to let the picture out. You see it all the time, like someone's got a cut on their face, and they show the picture. I don't know if it's ever shared by the same person, but like if it's shared by the person that has that cut, or if it's a manager or somebody. But regardless, you know, I think eventually that picture would have got out. Yeah. So, but maybe Robert didn't want it out yet, so he called DC a scumbag for it. He thought it was kind of a scummy move to do, but hey, man, you got your teeth fixed, right?
Yeah, I'm sure DC meant it out of earnest. I'm sure he was just like, God damn, and then took a picture of it. I'm sure he wasn't just like, yeah, let me get the scoop on Robert Whittaker's cyst inside his jaw.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. You never know. Leave it up to a media guy just to fuck it all up.
Well, let's go with Jiri Prohaska. He was recently today on Joe Rogan's show. And he said before his last fight, when he was cutting weight, he accidentally stayed in the sauna for 2 hours. He said it was 2 hours. I don't know. He said too long. And that he cut all the way down to 200 pounds instead of 205.
So whoever your manager and your corners are, they need to be fired. They should be fired. Like, what are you doing? And you as an adult, like, what are you doing? You accidentally stayed in there? I mean, that's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, I've never sat in there, like, after losing, like, say, 10 pounds and going, like, yeah, you know what? I don't feel like I'm close to my weight. Let me stay in here for another 2 hours. I mean, the day before your fight, all you're doing is doing more damage to your body. You're just draining your energy, you're making it more difficult for yourself to get rehydrated faster. Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. But whatever. We all know he's a strange guy. Extremely strange. So, hey, whatever floats your boat. He won the fight.
Yeah.
Maybe you should do that every single time now. Take, like some fighters are superstitious. Like for me, I always had to. If I didn't walk to the cage in my orange, I had like a pair of orange ugly sweats. If I didn't walk to my cage in those, man, I felt like I was going to lose. Every time. I didn't lose though every time, but I felt like I was going to lose. But still, I remember I lost a fight without him, and I remember going to the back going, "Fuck! I knew I should have worn my fucking sweats." Yeah, pretty much. What else you got?
All right, this is gonna have some audio to it, so I'll play it. Theo Vaughn, he got to hang out with Conor McGregor at the Trump inauguration.
Let's hear what good old Theo has to say, man.
As soon as it wants to,
he's fucking awesome.
To the bus, that's when Conor McGregor's rolls up, bro. And his suit, it was like they perfectly fitted, brother. Like the suit had just been stitched right around him just a second before he walked into our view. And he was just fresh. He was just fucking like he'd been just drinking Irish Spring soap water. Just looked like he was just fresh out the tap, He was energetic and he rolls right up. How you going, lad? Hey, class, lad. It's just a lot of energy. I guess him and the Pauls had confliction online. I didn't know that. You don't see me in all the gossip columns and all of that. Grown men arguing on the internet. They'd been doing it. He had his energy up like that, like he just found all the pots of gold they'd ever hidden. Yeah, lad. Fair play, boys. It was almost like Notre Dame. It's like if he was the guy on the little helmet or whatever. He was the Notre Dame guy, but he was twice as bad as that fucking little mascot guy they'd had. And he just had the fucking legs strong as the Moors, He had a voraciousness. His aura was at about 6,000, 7,000, 8,000. And I'm not even sure what the exchange rate of that is. I was like, holy shit, dude.
Theo Vaughn, baby, man. If you guys haven't checked out his specials, man, he's fucking hilarious. Hilarious. I mean, you've met him a couple of times, I would assume.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've never met him. Man. I want to check him out next time he's at the mothership. But he's a fucking...
He's a very genuine guy, too. Like, because most of the time I seen him, I was in the office working and editing. So, like, he was just like... Because he knew I was a fan. So he would come up behind me and, like, tap my shoulder and just, like, ask me how my day was. And make sure he took a moment just to, like, connect. And dude. Yeah. Like, I went to his first Netflix taping. I went to it in Nashville.
Was it, like, on a bar?
No, it was at... Oh, I don't even remember. It was downtown Nashville.
No, but like, was he standing on a bar?
No, I don't think so.
I felt like his first special I ever saw him on.
Oh no, that is a YouTube. That's a different show.
Oh, okay.
That's Ari Shafir's old show.
Oh, okay. Because I felt like I saw him standing on like a bar. You know,
that's when he was talking about doing cocaine and meeting Daryl Strawberry.
I think so. I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Bro, he grew on me too. Like that, when I saw him do that one, I was like, oh, I said, this dude's fucking funny. But I couldn't tell if that was really him or if that was just like a bit. No, that's really him.
Yeah, that's him.
No, he's legit this way. Like he just, but you know what's great about him? Is when I watch him like on Rogan, I watch him, have like serious conversations with people. Like through like, it seems like serious conversations with people through like social media and stuff. He gets pretty deep in thought. Like there's times where he'll just like blank out and you're like, are you going to answer? He's like, yeah, man. Like, yeah, I don't feel like I felt it deep down inside. He gets real like almost like you could tell he was pulling it from like a dark memory inside his mind.
He got a lot of demons, but like, he's grown. He's gone through them all. He's had to learn to adapt and to be a grown up in life, and how to like, his dad when his dad was 70 years old when he was born.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah.
Fucking boy.
So his dad, like, he didn't have a father figure growing up. He had a grandfather figure.
Yeah.
So
that's hard.
Yeah. Growing up down in Louisiana.
Okay, let's do one more.
All right. Well, there's no video to it, but fighter, good guy all around, Kelvin Gastelum. Mm-hmm. He is shred city right now. Let me pull up this tweet.
Is he going to 170 or is he just staying at 85?
He's going wherever the fuck he wants to go. That's where he's going.
Okay.
Woo.
Well, I mean, he's can't afford not to make weight. I'll tell you that.
That is very true.
And not after his Taco Tuesday escapade last time. Missing weight by as much as he did. So, look, I'm a huge Kelvin Gastelum fan. Big John is as well. Calls him his modern day Roberto Duran. Great fighter, great personality. Looking forward to, we're going to get him on the show, man. I got his number. I got to call him up and get him on. I know that I'm in talks right now with Rashad Evans.
He is fighting Joe Pfeiffer on ESPN 64, March 29th.
Tough fight.
Joe Pfeiffer's a dog, but so is Kelvin. That's going to be a firefight.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yep. We're going to look to have, I was talking to Rashad Evans the other day. Probably going to have Rashad on here pretty soon. And then I was talking with Chris Curtis, going to for sure have Chris Curtis on here pretty soon. So let's start reaching out to some fighters, start getting some guys on. Big John's going to be gone all week. So if those of you guys don't like listening to my voice, you guys can skip this week's shows if you want. So, but hey, man,
you guys have to watch it twice now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Look, he's on his 40th anniversary. So he's out there having some fun with Miss McCarthy. So, yeah, it's going to be me and Keto George today, as you guys can tell, and me and Podcast Dave and I on the midweek show. And I'm not sure if John's back by next weekend's fights. I believe he is. But if not, you fuck with me, you stuck with me, man. I'll see you guys on Tuesday. So before we go, though, I want to remind you guys, join us over at the Dad Dojo podcast, man. Subscribe to us over there. It is free. Of course, it's free. It's YouTube. But we're available on every listening platform you can think of. So iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, iHeart, whatever it is. We're available on everything on that for the Dad Dojo podcast, plus Rumble. So subscribe to us over all those other platforms. Thank you guys. We talk about kids sports. We talk about being fathers and raising athletic kids. We talk about diet, nutrition. We talk about wives, families, girlfriends. We talk about it all, man. We talk about what it's like to be a man in this day and age. So what it's like to actually try to raise a family, raise strong kids, keeping them off the iPads, keeping them active. We talk about all different types of things. And so we also take a lot of input from you guys. So if you guys can drop some comments in the comment section, let us know topics you guys like to talk about. That'd be wonderful as well. Also, this episode is brought to you by BetUS. YouTube 150 is the promo code. Also, LMNT, the best hydration drink in the business. Like I said, I drink a half a can right now. It's half a can right here. That's going to help me sleep with that magnesium and that potassium right there. So that gives me the lazy eyes. It's 2 a.m. So I'm dropping this podcast for you guys. And hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And before I leave you guys, like I said, Big John and I, we were the very first podcast ever to partner with OnlyFans. Please subscribe to us over there. It is free. Big John and I have been talking, and we got this idea from Justin Gaethje. I saw that he's going to be auctioning off some of his cards, signed cards. So John and I were talking about it, and I said, you know what? John's got a bunch of memorabilia that some of you guys might like. I've got a bunch of memorabilia that some of you guys might like. John's got literally like UFC canvases and shit. So he's got like a lot of stuff. So if you guys are interested in winning some memorabilia, subscribe to us over on OnlyFans. We will do live auctions over there, and you guys can bid on them. And we'll probably figure out how we're going to do this. But there'll be items available for auction. And we'll have you guys join us over there. It is free on the OnlyFans channel. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know no Big John. Some of you guys love me. Some of you guys hate me. But you know what, though? I love all you guys. Drop a positive comment down below in the comments because I read them, when I'm sitting on the shitter. And I want you guys just to know that I'm thinking of you every time I'm there. All right, guys. And for John, we will see you.